To go or not to go Zoo Negara? Hey everybody, I'm Elise Wong, and on this video I'm going to review about my recent trip to Zoo Negara. Now, I've never been to any zoos overseas, so I can't really compare about the quality and whatnot. However, growing up, whenever you ask, well, at least whenever I ask a friend about Zoo Negara, I tend to get negative responses. I usually hear that it is old, it abuses its animals. Now, if you think I'm going to bash Zoo Negara, you're probably going to tick it off that bucket list. Hold that thought, alright? Just let me tell you about my experience and see for yourself whether you want to go or not. I visited the zoo on 6 September 2015. Before I go deeper, I would just like to point out what were the pros and cons about this trip. For the pros, the animals look healthy. I am happy to report that there were no signs of starvation or mistreatment, so that definitely deserves a plus. The zoo has been recently refurbished to give animals a more natural environment and for them to roam about. It holds a lot of animals. The zoo is pretty big. I didn't even get to finish seeing all the animals there was. Mainly because I love to photograph and I tend to stick too much on one spot. So I did not manage my time properly. I was sad to say, I actually stayed from open time to closing time, and yeah, I was pretty sad I did not get to see everything, but I did get quite a few great photos, so I was happy about that. The new animal exhibits has eliminated the concept of cages, so it is great for photography and it really gives that whole atmosphere a much happier vibe. It's clean and the staff are friendly. Now we have to go through the cons. The easiest way to get there is by car. So if you have a friend who's interested in going to the zoo and he or she can drive, follow them. Or if you yourself can drive, better. You can go. If you go over to their website, and you can find means of public transportation to get there, but it won't be as an easy task as driving. If you take the LRT, the train, you'd have to go there, then hail a cab just to reach the zoo. Or you can also take buses, but it'll be quite a walk, I think. For the zoo, you pretty much have to pay for everything, map included. But it is not really such a big deal because there's many bulletin boards that tells you your location in the big territory. So it's not really much of a problem. In fact, you can even take a picture with your phone, and if you ever get lost or you want to go somewhere else, you can just see it on your phone again. And I guess it's good. If they charge for a map, then don't take it. Save the earth. Panda bears are the biggest attraction, no doubt. But they tend to milk you for it. I'll explain later in this video. Even if you have a map, it's quite easy to lose your way. It's a very big place, especially if you've never. Now for things to bring. I recommend mosquito repellent or wear long pants. Mosquitoes usually come out during the morning and the evening. However, if you're going there towards close to the afternoon sun, then hardly mosquitoes will come out. So bring your own water to conserve money. There are kiosks there, but I'm not really sure how much they charge, but usually usually places like this is going to cost a little extra. But there is, however, a fast food place. I found the price to be quite reasonable considering it being in the zoo, so I ate there. I paid like about less than 10 ringgit for my own meal. Came in a combo, so yeah. Bring sufficient money. I read in reviews on TripAdvisors that they do not take cards, so make sure to bring cash. We first enter from entrance A and head over to the Hornbill and Children's World first. The trip turned out to be quite an early disappointment with the animals in caged environments and it was pretty cramped with vegetation. Maybe they were going for a more natural approach, but it was not giving off that vibe. To break it down for you, cages and animals do not look good together. It was difficult to photograph the animals without the cage being in the photo. It also just gives it a really dark and unhappy atmosphere when viewing the animals. We managed to catch their performances, which occurs daily, one at 11 a.m. and the other one at 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. on Friday. They showed the animals and explained where they come from, what are their names, what are the food they eat. So it's good for children to actually learn more about these animals. After the show, we went over to the penguin and aquarium. Up for more disappointment there. The penguins are cute, of course, but the glass was not clear. It was very difficult to see through, and there was not much activity going on. It was just a little rock shelter thing for the birds to chill, and like a small little pond for them to swim in. That's about it. There was not much interaction. They were just there. The aquarium was not that much better either. It was set in a more cave-like environment, which granted it was quite interesting. They have aircon there, so after it starts getting hot and it starts to sweat, it was actually quite nice to hang out there. I actually quite like the atmosphere, but it was if there were better strategic lighting, I think it would be much better, mostly because they have a lot of information boards where you can learn about all these animals and their environments, you know, where they can be found, or you know, what are their animal body parts for, like the fin, you know, the tail. But you can't really read because there's just not much light going on, and a lot of the information board nobody reads because it's not brought to your attention as much as the fishes. Now for the fishes, some aquariums they try to mimic the environment such as paddy fields and swamps, so that was pretty interesting. I kind of like that concept. Unfortunately, for the smaller fishes, they don't really have names. A lot of their description are missing, so even if you think they're really cool, you just can't find out the names, which was pretty annoying. As you start walking around the zoo, you will realize that there are signboards saying that this specific animal is sponsored by this company, which was really cool because it's nice to know that the zoo is getting most of their funding from somewhere, and I think that is how they actually got enough funds to start renovating the place. And the place looks so much nicer. If you actually compare the old section of the zoo to the new section, oh, the new section is much better by far. So it's really amazing to see that at least they are getting extra funds from somewhere else, just besides entrance fees and donations. We met the zookeeper. His name was Shafiq, and he was really nice. He actually called me and my friend over because he was going to feed the squirrels, and he saw me having this camera with a really long lens, and yeah, he knew that I was pretty much a photography hobbyist. And yeah, so he was feeding them, and as he was feeding and as I was photographing them, he was explaining that this squirrel is actually a family and that the mother was having her second batch of baby squirrels. So it was pretty cool. As he was feeding them, he actually showed that her little belly was actually protruding out and that she was going to be due soon. It was really nice to see that these zookeepers have knowledge and care for these animals. And he explained to me that this section, the section that we were in, was the old section of the zoo, but the new section looks so much better. So, and they are currently trying to renovate it all. So yeah, you gotta give Zoo Negara a little credit here. We then walked together past the hippos, and I couldn't photograph them because they were all submerged underwater. And the zookeeper was saying that like they have this yell for the hippos, and when he yells at them, they will actually come up. So I was like, no way. So he started yelling, And slowly, one by one, they started popping out of the water, and I managed to photograph them, which it was fun. But after that, he said he has to get back to work, so I was grateful that he gave us a tiny tour, and I thanked him. The new exhibits that hold the animals were much more spacious, and there were no cages to it, which was what I really loved, that there was no more concept of cages. Some of them were glass, but only the few. Most of it, no glass. It was much easier to take photographs, and it was really nice to see that you can get a clear picture of what the animal looks like, and stuff like that. Another thing I like about the zoo is there are a lot of information pertaining to the animals that you see. Mainly, well, of course they have names, what are their habitats like, what are their lifestyles like, and are they least concerned, threatened, and if they are endangered, why? Is it because due to habitat loss or poaching? It kind of gives the younger generation an idea that these animals, they are not immortal and they do need help, and this is the time for them to learn and probably be one of those rescue rangers in the future. I learned a lot as well. I mean, I learned a lot of animals that can be found in Malaysia, like porcupines. I had no idea porcupines was found locally, and that's really the main reason why I started Malaysian Beauties in the first place, is to also educate myself about the animals that can be found here. And through that, I really hope to share with you my knowledge, the things that I learned, and maybe one day it could help. Yeah, but enough about that, Now to the main attraction, pandas. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love freaking pandas? I mean, they are so cute and cuddly. If you don't know, in 2014, 2 pandas were loaned from China to Malaysia. I think it was safe to say that many people were taken aback that China actually entrusted Malaysia with their precious assets, because especially because after the unfortunate event of MH370, it was, the delivery of the pandas were delayed but were sent over nonetheless, as it was an effort to strengthen the ties between the two countries. Their efforts was a success, as recently in August 2015, those 2 pandas successfully made it, and they had a little tiny panda. But because of this, both the mother and the infant were quarantined and it was not up for display. Now the fees to view the fathers solely did not change. It was still the same as before. Granted, they did warn you that you will not be able to see the mother and the baby. And I thought, of course, me being... I've never seen pandas in real life before. Of course I wanted to pay extra just to see the dad. So that's what I did. In my pros and cons, in the cons, I did say that they are gonna milk you for seeing pandas. Didn't I say that? Alright, you wanna know why? Here it is. Now that you pay to get to see the panda, you're gonna go to the building into its enclosure. So the panda has its own building, and as you enter, it's air conditioned, it's nicely renovated, but you're only given 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and 20 minutes just to photograph, just to chill, that's it. Some people, they may think 20 minutes is enough, some people think it's just too short. And if you have a choice, okay, if it was like me, when I entered, I only saw the male, and the only thing he was doing was lying on his back with bamboos on his tummy, and he was eating it. He kind of looked like a little couch potato, If he had a TV in front of there, he would complete the whole picture. He was like, he had this, like, his really big tummy, and he had like bamboos on it. He was eating on it like chips, and it was really funny to see. But he has been doing that for the past 5 minutes and throughout all that I've been there. So I did not complete my 20 minutes, and I was really tired. I've been carrying my camera gear. I've been carrying, like, I don't know, 1 liter, 2 liters of water in my bag. So I was getting pretty tired, and I asked my friend whether we could just chill in the cafeteria, the next room. That's what we did. We exited the enclosure just to take a little breather in the next room. And what we did was we ate the cupcakes. Do not buy their cupcakes. Their cupcakes are dry and their cream is bland. I mean, it's basically like eating flour and cream that's just been whipped for the sake of whipping the cream. It was not nice, it was not worth the money, but I got the rest that I needed. After we finished the cupcakes, we went back in, and guess what? Yeah, the employees came running down telling us that we can't go back in there. I mean, I paid extra for this. Not an extra 10 ringgit, not an extra 20 ringgit, but an extra 32 ringgit. And I just thought it would be a little bit more generous than that. So the least I could do is just hang in there wherever I want. If it was crowded, I understand that, you know, you need to make room and okay, let their people have their 20 minutes if the room was crowded. But it was not crowded at all. It was not crowded. There were very few people and you can't go back in. Before you enter the whole panda enclosure, a person will ask you to pose with your friend behind cardboard animals, you know, as a token of keepsake, you know, memories, as he take photographs of you and your friend behind cardboard animals, and he give you a slip of paper to say that if you're interested in the photos, you can purchase it in the counter as you exit the building. So I took out my slip of paper, I presented it to the nice lady behind the counter, and when I asked how much the photographs were, it was crazy expensive. I mean, I'm all for paying a little extra to help the zoo out, even little, just extra. But their whole profit range, it was just too wide. I mean, I know everybody knows how much it takes to print a photograph. It does not take much, but they charge really high, so I was, wow. Now, the zoo is nothing like my grandpa's collection of Nat Geo. This is July 1993, and one of the topics is called New Zoos. And what was really interesting, one thing that I really loved, number one, it was taken by one of my favorite photographers of Nat Geo, Michael Nichols. He takes really beautiful photos, and according to this, it says taking down the bars. So now they wanted to build a really nice natural environment, as natural as possible for the animals. So I think it was really nice. Like, as you can see here, it is a very big enclosure, and it looked so natural. It looked like as if you took this in the wild. And another one here, as you can see, it's a very natural enclosure. They really try to mimic the tall trees, and I really love this, as the kids, they're all admiring the flying fox here, as you can see. Yeah, it's all really up close and personal, which is what I love. The fact that the children can actually enter a tube and you get to see all these rodents up close. It was, I think I would smile from ear to ear. I read this issue quite some time back, but if I remember it correctly, they actually took a step further to actually make it as natural as possible by hiding fruits in trees to actually motivate the bear to actually search for it instead of just giving it up like that, giving it spoon feed. I feel Zoo Negara has the potential to improve. It may not be like the modern zoos overseas, but I think they're doing a pretty good job. They are actually taking the effort to make the place much more accommodating for the animals, especially when people have more conservation in mind these days. They really care about the animals, that the fact that they are actually being fed properly. There was an article I read a while back, it's Sunday Express. It's about this zoo owner called Damian Aspinall. He says to abolish all zoos. Now, you might think that, you know, what does he mean by that, you know? But his points are actually quite strong when you think about it. The fact that majority of the animals in zoos are not even endangered, you know, and zoos should take on a more conservation approach to actually be more of a sanctuary for endangered species, to help them multiply and return them back into the wild. If you're interested in reading as to what he had to say, I would link that short little article down in the description below. Now, my final verdict about this zoo, I would give it a 6/10. There were no signs of animal abuse and it was very educational for me. I like that they abolished the new concept of cages and it has become more new and improved. I would have given it a higher rating, but I was disappointed about the whole penless situation. And I also felt that it is still under renovation, so the whole zoo is still not yet complete in its new birth, so to speak. So that's why I gave it a 6/10, but I would definitely visit again and maybe I'll get to do another review. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you'd like to keep up to date with the things I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook, Deviantart, Blogspot and Google Plus if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and see you next time.